Guru Nation, welcome back to another video. It's gonna be short and sweet, but I get Ashley. We have Ashley Margot, the great, the legendary, the we can start listing accolades. You've been in research for just a few years and you've got accolades now. LICR co-founder, Clinker Research Circle co-founder, Monitor. Pretty soon CRA, who knows what number you're gonna be, something. LICR, it's crazy what you've done in a short amount of time. But I get asked this question a lot, Ashley, and also CRA Academy guest lecturer and CRC Academy guest lecturer, where she shares this in an hour-long video. And for the CRA Academy, she hosts the internship calls every month. So, Ashley Margot, thank you so much for coming on. I get asked a variation of this question every day, and I'm the wrong guy. I tell them I'm not the wrong guy to be asking this. Dan, can you make a video on how to keep yourself organized as a CRA? They think I'm Ashley. They think I'm organized. You
Yeah.
know me now. I'm not the right guy to ask about this. All right, but I said no problem. I got the person for you. I don't know,
Awesome.
honestly, Guru Nation. I'm a more organized person. Maybe my
Thank
wife.
you.
You and my wife are like,
I
she's
mean,
not
we're
in
we're
research,
we're
but
we're like distance besties,
yes,
though. Just
you guys
FYI, we
are
are.
like or most organized people I know, like by far. So how do you do it being a remote site monitor, which is basically a monitor, just instead of traveling, you do
Mhm.
everything remotely. One would argue you have to be even more organized. So how do you do it? Where do you start? What's the challenge? And then how do you solve these challenges?
For sure. So, I mean, there's various tools out there, and I guess to give a little bit of my background, I have a lot even prior to during my career time. In college, I was president of organizations, etc. So, I've had time to practice, right? So I've used almost every tool in the book, but my favorites so far, really honestly, are Google Calendar, um, my Outlook for sure. It's like a safe haven, and also OneNote, right? Now, my Google Calendar is particular to my personal stuff, which is important because sometimes, as a remote site monitor, as a CRA, you do know that sometimes you either have to work extra hours, probably get on a little earlier. So you need to ensure that both your work calendar, which would be hosted on Outlook, right, also doesn't collide or over coincide with your Google Calendar, right? This is how you can keep a good pace that your personal life and your work life, right? And I feel that a lot of individuals, especially those that are just coming in, that have no idea of how it is to be a CRA or an RSM in a sponsor CRO perspective, um, how crazy it can actually get, right? And that's that. I know some CRAs and some RSMs that are on three, four. I've even heard stories of six different studies at a time.
Mhm.
So, and all those studies, right, in itself, you're handling multiple sites per study and different types of time frames. I mean, it can get really, really crazy. So, using these things is extremely, extremely important. So, typically, for me personally, it always kind of starts with my main calendar, which is my personal calendar. I ensure that everything I need to do throughout the week and etc. is on there. Why? Because usually we know that for like for instance, I'm a type A person. I'm what they call checklisty. I like to list everything I do and I like to mark everything off throughout the day, which is great. But when you mix that with work, right? Personal life
Mhm.
with work and you have a long list during work time, right? Work hours are supposed to be focused. You can get overwhelmed thinking about what you need to do even outside of work and you lose
Yeah, it
focus
sounds
on the
like a
main.
self-employed person. Like my
Yeah,
list is like mixed everything's together, but you're an employee, so you work,
mhm,
and in other aspects, you're a business owner as well. So
yeah.
you definitely have all these lists.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, there's a whole bunch of lists. So really, it's just kind of prioritizing one, and then two, learning how to compartmentalize those particular action items list and dealing with them when they need to get done, focusing on those action item lists when they need to get done, and then moving very quickly on to the next one, right? And this is obviously, of course, if you are very, very, busy, like me, I'm pretty busy. But in this case, when it comes to work, right? Um, Most individuals I find that when you start, especially a CRO sponsor, you have a good like month and a half where you're going through your training. And this sometimes people can tend to slack a little bit because you're going through the basic modules, especially for individuals that, have been in research for a while or are just transitioning from one position to another from a different location, right? you just kind of like coast it a little bit and wait till you get your studies. But really, during that time frame, it's super important to do two things. One is to start organizing through like email folder in your Outlook, organizing and color coding your actual Outlook calendar so that you know, okay, when are my paydays, right? When do I plan to actually do other additional trainings? Like little things that you can actually start adding before you get your studies. Um, Another thing I would really much suggest, like what I said with the Outlook folders, um, start transitioning all your folders and the emails that you're currently getting through administration and through like HR and things like that. Start organizing that because those different departments will continue to fluctuate emails. And as you are getting introduced into your studies, start organizing the sites. Because during the beginning, they're very lenient on you as to how fast that they expect you to move, right? And so usually people take the time to give them the space and time, which I mean, you should for the sake of stress. But when you think about the long term effect and when they officially take off that lenient handkerchief and they say, okay, you're full in, it's your responsibility now. If you're not organized at that point, right, it's going to be a lot. The stress level is
Hmm.
going to be high. And I would
And
even
that's
say
just with
that,
one study, right? It doesn't
yes,
have to
that's
be
just the
six
someone study.
studies.
Exactly. Yeah, because for those that are like I told the CRA students, right? Um, you're very well aware of what it takes to be a CRA. You know how crazy the schedules can get, etc. And what you need to do with sites and what's expected of you. However, you are not taking into fact of okay, you might have 3 4 studies, and in each study you may be good at those studies and understand the protocol, but you may not anticipate that 2 of those studies you're probably going to have the vast majority of bad sites where they're non-compliant, and all the
Mhm.
different barriers you're going to be coming across during that time frame that's going to take and allocate way more time than the other sites, right? And you don't understand this until you're actually in the thick of it and
Yeah,
you're
you have to
having
be
to,
doing it.
yeah, until you're doing it, and then you take the time. It takes time to adjust to those sites to see
Mm.
how it is to communicate. Sometimes some sites need exceptional hand holding where you have to email them 3 4 times a week, and then on top of that follow back up again, make with phone calls. And even though these are little tasks, when you're dealing with multiple studies and multiple sites, these little tasks compound your time frame, right? And again, I never realized how, I knew it was organized prior to coming in, but for me as a very organized person going into CRO, I realized how much I could perfect it, right? Because really time is pretty much of the essence of your performance. Now, some people will say, you don't have to be extremely fast, or you don't have to be over, how to say, over intense about how you do things. Just take it as it comes and slowly, which is perfectly fine. But like I said, I'm a type A person. I told you when I got into the industry, I wanted to move fast, and in order to move fast up the ladder, right, or move fast to where you want to go, you need to really push out good metrics. And metrics means how fast you can get queries fixed from the help of with the site, how fast you can get documents from the site, how fast can
So
you
they
process
grade
the
you on
site.
this. Who grades you
uh,
on this?
they don't necessarily, it's not a grade, but every month you meet with one of your managers, or whoever, however it goes for your CRO or sponsor, and they pretty much just check up on you and see how you're doing. And obviously, if you're handling multiple studies exceptionally well and your sites are doing well, and yes, they might go into the red or to the green, or however you want to put it. The point being is how good is your documentation? How often are you following up? Are you giving them the support that they need? Are you responding quick enough? How reliable are you? All these sorts of things. And honestly, if you find yourself tripping over yourself on your own to-do list, it's going to be very difficult for you to keep up on other people's to-do lists, which is what a monitor does, right? You
Yeah.
are overseeing sites action items, so you need
Yeah.
to be exceptional. I feel, at least to be very successful, you need to be exceptional with yourself in regards to how you handle things so that you can maintain the stress and the focus when overseeing other sites.
Okay, so
Mhm,
Google Calendar for personal,
mhm.
Outlook calendar for work,
Yes.
Outlook organized, color
Emails.
organized by folder in the emails.
Yes.
Okay, what about OneNote? Because
Oh,
right now
so
that's just organizing and scheduling, right? But
yes.
the CRAs are saying, like the new CRAs, well, how do you stay organized? How do you know site A is missing a 1572 and
Hmm.
site B? Like me the other day, I'm a site owner, so I'm the only coordinator. the in-house CRA, the remote monitor reached out and said, hey, you know what? You forgot to check phase 2 or 3 on the 1572. So
Mhm.
check it and initial and date, send it back. Like little things like this,
Mhm.
compounded by like 100,
Yeah.
right? So how do you do this? You can't do this in Outlook.
No, you can't. And honestly, so OneNote is a really exceptional tool that I really enjoy. But I can actually say that I use it in conjunction with the Outlook calendar and with the Outlook folders. Now, I can give you an example. So in your OneNote, right, this is where you're going to keep multiple folders depending on what studies you're in, and in those folders, you can even subcategorize based off on how many sites you have, and then from there how many SMCs or how many IMVs you do, right? This is where you keep all the documentation each time you have a visit with the site. You can keep folders for each of those studies on, let's say, information on, particular aspects about, how they do data entry or any, updated information on any updated documents, etc. You can keep document templates there too, so that instead of sorting through whatever database that your company has for you, which can also very much be a hassle, you already have it there for you. So it closes down the time. But again, going to your question, in there on one look is where you can keep all the documentation you have with the site. For instance, typically
Oh.
you'll have a section where you talk about each subject, right? That is for that particular study with that site. You can put notes there on updates of what's happening as of that month, or that, bi-monthly, whatever, how many times you speak with the site. You also can document specific the documents that are pending, what they're doing with the current report in regards to the queries that they're missing. And what I personally like to do is each time I have a call with the site, let's say I have a call with the site at the beginning of the month on the 1st, right? And there I talked about all the documents they're missing the queries, any information that I needed to come across, the documents like a DOA log that they might need, etc. Right. Right there, I document the date that I told them and what their response was and when they told me they
Mhm.
would provide the information back. So say
Okay.
the site coordinator tells me, hey, Ashley, look, I can't do that right now. I'm super backed up because it happens. Give me 3 days. I'll give me 3 days. I'll give it back to you, let's say Thursday. So I will actually go after the call that I have with them. I'll go into my Outlook and my calendar, put a reminder subsection, and in the reminder, I put a follow up with site XYZ for these particular document action items, right, at this day. So if I haven't had an email by Thursday morning, that morning, I'm going to go ahead and look at the reminder and follow up with that site,
So
right?
your
Instead of,
calendar must look insane.
yes, yes, it does. It
Uh,
looks insane, but categorized insane. So reminders will be at the very early morning. So the first 10, 20 minutes is pure follow up emails, right?
okay.
Yeah,
I have
so
a
it's
question.
focused.
So OneNote, believe it or not, I've never used it. I have it on my other computer
It's
because I got
amazing.
it. I'll try it. But have you ever used Evernote?
Yes, it's not different, honestly.
It's
So
similar
yeah, so Evernote, I
because
mean,
I use
little,
Evernote all the time.
yeah. So like a little small FYI, like I trade on the side. My Evernote actually has my trading stuff, so it's not that different.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So
So
yeah,
it's
but
basically when you say OneNote, like if I think of Evernote, it's the same thing.
yes, pretty much. Yes.
Okay,
hmm
okay.
I just feel like maybe OneNote, um, because it's with, I think it was Microsoft, correct?
Microsoft, yeah.
Yeah, they really know how to tailor it towards.
Can it
It,
integrate with your calendar? Like in your OneNote, can you put like set a
Mm,
reminder? Um,
oh, you know what? Honestly, I don't know. Because I'm so fixated on my Outlook, I really haven't tried to,
because
you
Outlook's
know,
Microsoft also, right?
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. Actually, yes. You know what? I have an Outlook open right now. It says send to OneNote. So yes, you can integrate it. Sorry.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, you can.
Because
I mean,
I'm
see.
I
Mhm.
hear all this and I know because I use Evernote like back in my monitoring days. Now as a coordinator, I use Evernote too to store all my login and like whatever I have to do, I put it there. But it's only as good as like when I do something. And the
Yes.
reason I like Evernote, I can do it from my phone. So I'm assuming
Yes.
OneNote has an app that, like these days
Yes, it does.
everyone does. But how do
Yeah.
you the problem with me and the reason why I just
hmm
give up unless it's super important, then I make sure it's in Evernote. But like for
hmm
regular day-to-day stuff, it just
hmm
stays in here
hmm
because I would have to stop what I'm doing like every half an hour and put something in Evernote for me to remember.
Mhm.
And to me, that
Yeah.
slows me down. I'd rather do like three more things and just hope somebody else reminds me about that. That's why I'm not organized.
Yeah.
That's my problem. So how do you like, I don't know if it's discipline or what is it? Maybe I'm just doing too many things, but how like it has to be a habit, right?
Yeah, it has to be a habit, and I've even noticed that now that that habit has kind of grown into a more structured thing that I never had before. Like
It's
for
an
instance, with
obsession.
an obsession kind of now, like for instance, Latinos in clinical research, right? We have a
Yeah.
lot of things happening. Now I just have this habit of kind of creating templates and really just it's about
Templates.
yeah, it's about I would honestly the whole focus of it is doing or working smarter, not harder, right? So
Yeah.
the first initial movement is a difficult one. So in regards to maybe like OneNote, these are templates that are already set. So the first time doing your templates and structuring that, which by the way, if you have any questions in regards to that, you can always reach out to me. But those templates, it's annoying, just like creating the folders, just like creating your Outlook calendar. All of that in the
Oh,
beginning
it's
is a
so annoying.
hassle. It's annoying, but once it's there and it's structured, at that point, it's just reprocessing, and it breaks down the time, so it looks like you're doing a lot, but really all it is that you categorize, you subcategorize, you compartmentalize, and you just break down most of the heavy lifting work that most individuals don't do. So,
Hmm.
I get all the time where they're like, oh, I just don't know how you do that much. It's like, honestly, anybody really could do this. It's just that I push it out in the very beginning because I hate stressing.
Did
I
you
really
read
do.
any book or we're gonna go
No.
over our agreed upon time because this is too good, but
Mhm.
you didn't read, you just taught yourself all this stuff? Like, or you've watched YouTube videos on how to organize yourself,
No.
or like
Well,
what'd you do?
I can tell you my history. In high school, I was in about, I would say, 7, 8 organizations, and I ran 4 of those. So I was the president of 4. And then college, I was in about 5, 6 organizations, and I ran 2 or 3. And it's just like I learned that, you know, if I write it down or if I put it down somewhere, usually it's the calendar. My calendar has reminders as well, like tasks every day. So instead of looking at my full calendar and stressing out about how crazy it looks, I just focus on the day. And as the time punches through, I just focus on the time. I don't worry about the full view, the full picture, because if you do that, you stress out about it. And then I feel like when you put it down on paper and you see just how much you have to do or how much you handle, it can sometimes become a lot or overwhelming, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, but no books, no YouTube, just trial and error since I was in high school,
Okay.
and I love being
Have
organized.
have you ever thought of what a book that like I read early when I started the 4 Hour Work Week? I don't know if you're familiar
I read
with.
half of it. I read half of it, not the full thing, but yeah,
So he
it's
has a
pretty
lot
good.
of it's old, but like some of the tools are still there. It still applies. He
Yeah.
had this thing called if this then that, and I never got into it, but I always thought, okay, if I could set up a system where if like a monitor reaches out to me, if I could you know how they always email you. So
Hmm.
if I could forward that email to an email I created that's my own, and then somehow from there it will like go into an Evernote, and it's like already organized automatically, or even better, like if it will create like an alert or something.
Hmm.
I've never figured out how to do that.
That's
I don't
kind
know
of
if it
like, I
exists.
mean, that's kind of like templates. It's just, except for he's automating, right? He's making it
Yeah, it's
way more
passive, but you're
simplistic.
doing it
Yeah.
like manual, like.
Yeah. Well, I copy and paste and that's it. Because the thing is, I feel like, maybe corporate wise, you can definitely have like a basic template, but, outside of that, like business and LSER and all this stuff like that, it's always going to be tailored a bit to the person.
Mhm.
So, I don't like to necessarily like I create specific parts of tailors like for this specific thing that they're asking or for this specific thing. It can be the same individual, but for different subsections of what they may be asking. So I
Okay.
like specific tailored stuff, but yeah, I mean it's the same concept really. It's just again finding your own flow with things. you do it, and then it becomes a habit. So if I get disorganized for like 3 days, I actually feel stressed because I don't
I
feel like I
bet
have
because
focus.
no one's been doing all the manual stuff. Okay, how many studies do you have as a monitor right now?
Right now, I only have one, but I oversee 31 sites, I believe.
Okay,
31.
31 sites. It's an active
Mhm,
study, right? So
mhm.
there's activity. Okay. What's a date like? Open your calendar today if you can. Don't tell me what's on there. It's
Yeah, for
private,
sure.
but how many things are on there?
Personal or work?
Random day.
Oh, random day?
Work,
Okay.
but today because it's random.
Oh, today. Well, I don't have that
I'm putting
laptop
you on the
open.
spot. That way people say, "Oh, she prepared. She picked her busiest day to show."
I'm sorry. Oh, no, no. Well, I mean, I'm busy every day, but like today for sure I don't have that open on me, but I know that
Okay.
I had like on the calendar, I had about seven things scheduled, but in between that time, that's what I call access time, where I'm going in and kind of just reviewing all the sites and checking if there's anything that's kind of fallen through the cracks. So I'm
Excess? You
still,
said excess time?
yeah, like
Okay.
excess,
Okay.
where I'm doing more
Okay. Okay.
than necessary, right?
Okay.
But because I do it so that I don't get file reviews and things like that, right? Because that
So
becomes
those
extra.
seven things in there, like how mundane are some of are they some of them are super important, some are mundane.
Oh no, anything that gets scheduled is very important. Everything that is more like basic or day-to-day stuff, that's kind of goes in the slightly excess area a little bit.
I
The I
see.
would say the more mundane stuff is like the just in the reminders, like you're
Like
gonna be
site
called.
38 didn't check box 2 on the 1572.
Yeah, those are like more specific mundane stuff. I don't schedule that in because for the most part, I have my schedules as far as, every like twice a week, I'm going to follow up with the sites on all pending action items. So twice
Okay.
a week, I'm going to do 2 hours of just sending emails of all the things that I need from them, following up every 2 weeks.
Okay. So
So
you're
the
not
other
putting
days,
like it's not over your calendar's not overkill. Like there's
no,
not like 50 things in there every day.
no, 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 no. It's
Okay.
it's not like that. But because I've already created my flow now in the beginning, it definitely was. I remember
Huh.
being stressed out like very, very heavily. I think would say the first 2 months. So like the advice I'm giving, I didn't have that advice given to me. So that was trial and error for me. Um, I learned that I had to do these particular things in order to start. I thought I was organized in advance, before going in. So I didn't feel like I needed to utilize that time. And once I started, I realized how much I could still improve on that organization because I was really feeling it when it came to being completely full on the sites, right? Once the study gave me full reins. And so,
Okay.
um, yeah. Yeah.
So if it wasn't for, and sorry for all these tough questions,
No,
but
I got you.
people are gonna ask me, well, you didn't ask her enough like tactical stuff.
Oh, go for it.
So um if it wasn't for OneNote, then your calendar would be crazy, right? Because then you'd have nowhere else to write the stuff unless you write it on paper.
Yes, yes. If it
So
wasn't for
OneNote
OneNote,
is like serves as your just all the stuff that you got to do for work, organized by site, I'm assuming.
yes. Yes. And then this is where the folders in the email come into handy because if for some reason I have documentation for the most recent call that I did with the site and they're asking me about something that happened 5 months ago, I can go to my OneNote, look at the date, shift to my email folders, go to that site and not just go to the site, but also the subsections of the site. So say they're looking for stuff in regards to ICFs or regulatory, I go into the regulatory folder for that site, and then I shift down to the date as opposed to going through literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of emails,
Mm,
all under that one site, right? So instead of
that's
taking
my problem.
10, yeah, instead of taking 10 to 20 minutes, really, or trying to like,
Wow.
caption search the name, I find it within a minute,
So I
right?
gotta
So,
organize myself. This is, by the way, for sites too, CRCs, not just CRAs. And Ashley Margot on the AM
mhm,
approach helps
mhm,
everybody out. Her LinkedIn is underneath the video. This will be a podcast too because it's good. So in the show notes as well, her LinkedIn. I'm thinking when I first started in research, Ashley as a CRC, I had folders
mhm,
because I was new and I was like, all right, I have to I have all these studies. I don't know what I'm doing. Boom. Now I we have Creo, so it's an eSource eReg. So there's
mhm,
already folders. And shout out to Samantha. She's our CRC Academy intern who now works. She's my only like
Oh,
employee
I
now.
actually talked to Samantha I think the other day.
She works for me. She's
Yeah.
awesome. But even with her, okay, because I don't give her access to my email. She has
Mhm,
enough to do with
mhm,
Creo, eReg, all the IRB stuff. Today, I looked for, I remember everything's in here right now. So I remember 2 days ago, an IRB messaged me and said, hey, please activate your account because Samantha set up our IRB portal, right? So I got an email, please set up your IRB account or else this link will expire in 3 days. So I knew in my head, like, all right, I got to do that. I got to do that. And then today I remembered, I didn't write it down. I just remembered it took me, Ashley, 10 minutes to find that email. All right, 10 minutes.
and then
And
you're
I
going
was,
through like processed emails, and you're like,
yeah.
ah, yeah, no.
And in that time, my phone's ringing. So then I stopped, but like 10 minutes of actual searching. So it was like
Mhm.
really more like 20 minutes of like real life.
Yeah.
It was 10 minutes of me actually searching my phone calls, emails. You were on some of those emails. And then I get back to the search. I finally found it, but I was like, there's got to be a better way. So it's really, I just got to get back to the folders for my email.
Yeah, and I did that for your academy, but we only went over the calendar. If next time I need to do the actual folders part for the emails.
Folder, I got to be
Yeah.
on that one too as a
Yeah.
student.
But honestly, it's a really great one. It makes things so much more simplistic. I even had, somebody that I used to work with, I showed this tactic to, and because, he was always he was pretty much always coming to me saying, hey, do you know where this is? And I would get it like instantly. And finally, he was just like, can you just show me what you do? And so I showed him, and that was just
Wow.
boom, that was it.
But even if
Um,
I did folder, okay, because I only have 4 studies right now, I'm going to have two
mhm,
more soon. All right, I'll have four studies, so I'll at least
mhm.
separate it by study. But there's more. There's
There's
subfolders,
more.
right?
Yeah, there's subfolders. So you're separating it by study, and not just by study, but you're also separating it by regulatory. I mean, I'm coming from the CRO's perspective, right, where
Yeah.
you're dealing with multiple departments and stuff. So it's not just the study focus. There's so much more on top of that. But when you're talking about study, you're going to have subsections where you're talking about each particular subject, because sometimes you'll have emails just that are particular to something happening to that subject at that moment. You have folders on supplies, equipment, anything to do with regulatory particular documents, something in regards to like, any safety issues. So all these things are going to be like subcategorized, right? So that by the time, you don't have to search through multiple emails. Because think about it, if you're a CRA or an RSM or even a CTM, right, and you're dealing with uh, this study for, let's say, 3 years. Some people have been on them for 4 years, right? uh,
Yeah.
Over time, that is a whole lot of emails, right? And so, for the most part, at least in CRO, they don't want you to delete things, right? And I even suggest not to, because you're going to need some of that information sometime in the future sometimes. And so having that available to you, on the go right away, just having to, subcategorize and then just look for the date instead of having to literally sort and sort and sort and sort and sort and sort. Like, it's just too much.
You're killing
Time
me.
is literally everything.
You're killing me because this is like finding a trainer and saying I want to lose weight and they tell me what I already know I need to do. You're
Yeah.
killing me.
Yeah.
But there's people out there that don't know. Like
Yeah.
I learned the hard way, like do the folders. And as a CRA, remember I had a stint as a CRA. I went back to the folder thing. I at least
Hmm.
had it by study. So I'm
Hmm.
not looking for, I didn't do all those subfolders. But I think now with the site as a site owner and there's no coordinator. It's me and
Yeah.
Samantha. I mean, I don't have anything in that UMA clinical trials. It's just the inbox and that's
Yeah.
it. It's
I
crazy.
think the best way to put it is, I don't like stressing, and people think, oh, well, if you're doing that much stuff, you're going to stress. Well, the way I feel and see organization is that I'm taking the clutter of the organization in my head, because I'll remember everything still, but the stress of trying to remember is too much. Like, I don't like it, so I put it on a system. And so what that does is that, at the end of the day, when I have a flag going off in my head saying, oh my God, you have so much to do here, here, and there, I can immediately release it, because I'm like, oh, it's okay. It's on my calendar. I'll look tomorrow. And I literally just pass it on by, and
Wow.
I go to bed like, stress free. Yeah. Um,
Stress free. And that's
yeah.
honestly, CRA, because when you're a site owner, one of the crutches, like I'll probably still do it because it's taking me long to find a coordinator. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to organize for my own sanity here. I think I will, and this interview is gonna motivate me to do that. But I will eventually have the luxury of hiring people and just assigning them. This is your study. This is your. So they're gonna be like
Send it
doing
my
that,
way.
right? Exactly. But as a CRA, so you have a little more like leeway as a site owner by
Mhm.
hiring. As a CRA, you're on your own. I mean,
Mhm.
sure, you can hire a virtual assistant. I know a lot of CRAs that do that, but there's the burnout. CRA burnout is a real thing,
It
and
is.
you're saying that this will go a long way in preventing this burnout from happening. Because what you said
Yeah.
about sleeping well at night without worrying about.
Yeah, exactly. It comes down to that because, it's just some people are like, oh, I'll write it down and I have it on my list. It's like, yes, but burnout is also visual, right? If you see that you have way too many things to do, you need to compartmentalize. So if you're stressed that week and you're looking at the week and you're like, man, I have so much, crap I need to do. I literally, when I get those days, I literally just switch it to just the day. So I don't look at the rest of the week. And that then relaxes me because I'm like, okay, well, today's 8 o'clock. I only have two things to do before 10 o'clock hits. So I'm all right. Right. Again, it's for me, I feel like it's visual, getting everything off on a system, making sure you're going to do it, obviously, keeping to the daily tasks that are listed and outlined for you. But when you're getting stressed and you have those moments of stress, you can actually kind of, well, for me, I tweak it to where if I don't want to look at the full week because I'm too stressed out, I'm just going to look at the day for that day, right? And I'll look at the week next week or
Mm.
the following day, however you want. But that's why it gets you, it allows you to see the full month view, the full week view, and then down to day and date, right? So I
People are
just
gonna
use,
love this one.
yeah, I mean,
The
it's
AM
really good.
approach.
Yeah.
Find Ashley on LinkedIn. Is there anything else? Sorry, I told you like 12 minutes and it's like
Oh, no,
30.
you're good. Oh, it's 30 minutes. I was
I
fast.
don't know how long it's been, but
It's okay.
yeah, close to it. So is there anything that you haven't said that is important?
Um, just y- don't underestimate, even when you're in the industry, don't underestimate the amount of organization you're going to need, especially for those that are barely coming in. I mean, wherever you're coming from, doesn't matter what your background is. I mean, my background was I felt extensive and I was slapped in the face, So don't underestimate it. Always find ways to improve before it's to the point where you're like stressing, right? So,
How are you looking? How are you looking to improve? Like you have a
oh, right now,
system. You have a
hmm
system, right?
hmm
How are you looking to tweak it? Like what do you do?
to make it
Continual
better.
improvement. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, unless there's a better system that comes
Nothing. You
along,
perfected it.
yeah, honestly, yeah, I think at this point, the way that I'll advance is that I take on more things and I see how well I can structure based off the amount of things I take on.
Or maybe
Um,
more like side business like LICR,
oh well, yeah, well,
your
that's what I mean,
trading
like
company.
more additional, yeah, because I mean, it's LICR, it's the Clinical Research University, it's my
Mhm.
business, it's the senior position that I have, and I mean,
Mhm.
never ending.
All right, Ashley. Well, thank you so much. The AM approach. Check out Ashley Margot's LinkedIn underneath the show notes and underneath the video. Go connect if you haven't already. And
Yeah,
also come network with us at latinosinClinicalResearch.com. Ashley is on there every monthly meeting, and you'll also see her in the CRA and CRC Academy. So thank you so much, Ashley. Really appreciate it.
sure,
We'll do
happy.
more. You'll see Ashley more.
Yes,
Talk to you guys later. Bye bye.